Hey Scott, hello everybody, and as everybody is typically aware, today's Andy's trading studio. Needless to say, I'm not Andy. Andy's taking some well-deserved days off to round out the holiday week here, and I've got a special guest with me today. I've got Mr. Michael Noss in check today. Hey
Hey
Michael.
guys, how's it going?
Good, good, good. Welcome, welcome. So everybody, I'm going to change it up for you a little bit today. Brought in Michael. He's going to share some interesting things with you about how he's working with the AI system Holly. Michael is a special person because, well, he's been a longtime user of Trade Ideas and has been, on that data hunt, searching, becoming quite the prodigy with the use of Trade Ideas. So it was a natural fit for him when we basically brought him in to work closer with Holly in developing strategies, and he's going to give you a little peek into that process today. So good stuff on the horizon. So before we get started, just want to take a moment to get the disclaimer out of the way, and just want to make sure that whether it's this webinar or any of the other webinars that we host throughout the week, right at 9 of those, the information that we share with you is for educational purposes only. If you do need investment advice, what to buy, when to sell it, all that good stuff, please seek out a registered investment advisor or a Series 7 licensed broker, somebody that is legally set up to help you with that type of advice. All right, so just want to let you guys know that not only do we have award-winning, one-of-a-kind software, but over the past 12 years, we've built quite the community around that software. It all kind of starts out with Barry's Trading Room, hosted by Mr. Barry Anderson. Barry does a fantastic job of moderating the room, showcasing his trades and his style using, obviously, Trade Ideas technology. Barry opens the room 30 minutes before the open every day, and the great thing, other than Barry being in there, is the price of our trading room, which is $0.00. So if you've shopped around out there, you know that most of the trading rooms out there are not $0.00. They're quite pricey. But when you become part of the TI community, we give you this as a bonus. Of course, office hours is myself and Steve, and typically it's Q&A, or excuse me, getting ahead of myself here. It's missing here, but typically Tuesdays is the trade of the week with Steve and Andy. Q&A on Wednesdays with the CEO, Dan Merkin, and our Chief Technical Officer, Brad Williams, changing it up a bit, always entertaining. And then, of course, Thursdays is typically Andy and myself. And then tomorrow, Friday support session. Big success, great success with the Friday support session. A lot of good feedback from the clients because it's basically just a free-for-all. Anything TI related, come one, come all, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern, and we'll get you taken care of. So if you haven't signed up for that one tomorrow, you might want to go ahead and do that. In addition to the 5 o'clock Eastern webinars, which obviously this is one, we have folded in these additional 4 webinars Monday through Thursday. Monday 101, Tuesday 201, Thursday 301. Excuse me. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday, we just had 401 today. Jamie? Yes, I remember. Okay, so we've got these Monday through Thursday for a total of 9 educational webinars. So it's always recommended to, kind of go through these in the order. That way, you don't want to just jump into 301, take 101, 201, then you'll be ready for 301 and the advanced back testing and all that good stuff. All right. Also, still in beta, but soon to come out of beta, I'm told, but we still don't have an exact date yet, is the Brokerage Plus module for interactive brokers. This lets you take strategies that you developed with TI and look good on the back test, allows you to automate them if that's what you need to do or want to do. Black box, gray box. Gray box is more of the, hey, let the system make the entry, I'll make the exit, or you can use it in a black box format and have the machine do everything for you. Now that is only available currently at Interactive Brokers, currently still in beta mode. But in addition to the automation potential, we've created a interface which makes it a little easier to trade. This simplifies the buy and the sell process. We've got some additional advanced functionality in there that's not necessarily available in the TI, or excuse me, in the Interactive Brokers workstation. So if you already trade at IB and you're a premium subscriber, then you might want to think about getting active with Brokerage Plus. And of course, here's where you go to download the version that includes the B Plus module. All right, so as excuse me, as Andy is out on his extended break, we've got Michael Noss in here. So keeping with tradition, what I'm going to do is we're going to check out what Holly did today. We're going to look at a couple of risk-on opportunities and, of course, a couple of trade-around opportunities as well. So let's just get to that. Let me find my unicorns and get them off the screen here, and then we'll get rolling. Okay, so as you all know, where there was one, now there are three. We've got three different AIs now. We got the initial Holly Grail, we've got Holly 2.0, and we've got Holly Neo. They all finished in the green today in either risk off or risk on, but hey, Holly Neo sure stole the show, and I've got Holly Neo pulled up right here, and we can see risk on today on about, right at 22 trades. We're looking at 5.86 points in the money as of the close, which not too shabby considering market conditions, market day, holiday, all that good stuff. These types of days are never the easiest to navigate. Not that it's ever easy to navigate the markets, just that some days are easier than others. So on a day like today, quite tickled to see one of the AIs really knocking the cover off the ball today. So as we typically like to do, let's take a look at a couple of the risk-on opportunities that were out there today. So I've sorted my blotter by risk on here. Always like seeing these nice fat numbers of green up here at the top of the ladder, and then seeing, of course, our losers down here and seeing how they are very much smaller than the winners. Always a good thing. So let's take a look at the risk on opportunity that was presented today in one of the trend plays, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but this one's rather a newcomer that's been showing up as of late.
Yeah, that is brand new with the new stuff that I'll be talking about a little bit later with what we can do with Holly.
Right, and of course it just happened to spit out the biggest risk on winner today. And let's take a look at the chart here. So 5-minute candlesticks here, opening candle here, we take a little swoon down and starting to pop back up. Holly's like, I think I'll have me a piece of this TNA long. Interesting thing, and why I like this, because it's all about the events, whereas we humans can get a little bit biased and go, hey, I don't want to trade ETFs or any of that stuff. But TNA, note the name up here. It is that thing, right? And alpha is alpha, and it came in the form of TNA today in this example. So we got a nice entry signal right here, 85.66. Of course, the blue line is going to populate and show you where the buy was. Red box down here, corresponding with the red line, our risk area. And then, of course, on this one, trend play, profit target, was that in play? No profit target on trend play. Now, this ran the duration for the timed hold. And if we check out trend play over here, we can see that strategy was designed around a 60-minute intraday hold time. That's exactly what the system, or I should say Holly, did. She was programmed to exit after 60 minutes, assuming the stop loss had not been hit. And we can see right about here is where she got out, right? Notice the shaded area corresponds with the risk off time that Holly was in the trade. Now, big spread between risk off and risk on. 26 cents, 217, roughly $1.70, almost $1.90, somewhere right in that neighborhood of additional alpha that could have been captured by doing what we call risk on. So when we see Holly getting out of this trade, to simplify things, I always like to say, until you get used to it, probably a good idea to do a little bit of both, right? So if we got into a couple hundred shares with Holly at the entry signal, and of course we probably took a little bit of slippage, maybe not, considering that's right at the top of that 5-minute candle, and got even maybe a little opportunity to pick it up a little cheaper in the following 5-minute candle, but a very attainable fill based on the chart here. And then Holly getting out right here. So all we have to do is make the decision. If we like what's going on the chart, we can say, think this might have a little bit more in it. I'm going to peel out of 100. I'm going to book my 26 cents with Holly, or 24, whatever, whatever that first lot yielded with your slippage, and hold on to the second lot. And then you've got a couple of options here is how you're going to manage your risk moving forward. You can stick to the original hard stop, taking on a little bit more risk, or you can set your stop on the second lot to the break-even line, which would have been here. Of course, on this one, never would have got stopped out on either one of those factors. I'm more of a person that likes to say, okay, well, I'm going to lock in profit here. I'm going to set mine to break even. Typically, if you're using a stop loss, you're going to take a little bit more than that. But if you keep your loss limited to 2, 3 cents, nickel here, nickel there, you still made money on the first lot. So it's still a profitable trade. Worst case scenario plays out. This thing had not have etched on up very nicely for the remainder of the day. If it would have rolled back over here and stopped us out, well, not what we wanted, but we still made money on the first today. Not quite the case. Did not revisit the entry line or the hard stop, and we got to enjoy this move by making one simple decision. Do we feel comfortable staying in the trade once Holly has closed it? And a lot of the times we can use the daily to get a little bit of, it's never an exact answer, but it gives us an approximation of how high this thing could go, right? So when we were down here at 85.66, here's the blue line for Holly, still down here in the wick. So, and we don't have to be technical experts to eyeball this. I can see, if we get up to the top of this day, that might be a good spot to take the cookies off the plate. And sure enough, not that they all do that, but a lot of times they do. Right up here, butting up to this nice high of the prior, let's see, what day was that? June 25th, forming the top of this little channel and corresponding with this area that could possibly act as some additional resistance. So beautiful trade on TNA, no matter how you slice it or dice it, and was a perfect candidate for taking a little bit more risk and reaping the rewards. Of course, this guy right here, SFIX, more of the same, a little bit trickier, trying to stay in the trade, right? So Holly gets a little nervous in this area right here after she makes the entry, right? So this is a great example of, well, had we done what I was describing in the prior trade, would have eventually stopped us out. Because if we decide we want to stay in right here, probably wouldn't be too prudent to use break even as a stop loss since we're so close to that line. So the only other option would have been sticking to the hard stop. Now, this is one that would have rolled back over. So we make a 2 cent or a flat, or, it could have been anywhere between 1 or 2 pennies down to 1 or 2 pennies up, depending on how much slippage we took on this one. And if we tried the same technique on this one, rolled over and got us. Best laid plans sometimes do not work. But there's another spin to put on this, or another way to play this, and that is, once it hugs that entry line, which when we see something doing this, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, timing was off on the original entry, right? But Lord knows we're not all able to be in 22 trades of Holly trying to manually input all these signals. I'm not saying that it's impossible. You got to be pretty handy with the steel or the keyboard to get that done. But most of us are waiting for the plays to come in. We're sizing up the charts. Of course, we're taking in, we know that everything's got a nice statistical edge to it before we ever pull the trigger. But let's say we did not participate in SFIX, right? And it's this part of the day, and we notice, wow, she's about to get stopped out of that one. And notice how as soon as we get this excursion down here to the stop loss, and we get this curling back up, something to pay attention to. Right in here, we can, size it up kind of like this. Well, I'll be getting a much better price than Holly, and if I stick to the same stop loss, I'm also risking less than Holly did initially. And we all know that sometimes they go on the second, third occurrence. Sometimes the timing is just a little bit off. So even though Holly loses on a trade, that's still good information to us, assuming we haven't participated yet, or we might think about taking another stab at it. So once we saw this high put in, we see it coming off the bottom here, whether we participated here or whether we waited for it to break this opening range, which it did it with some fervor, right? So, you know, this is one of those that, you know, maybe you could have gotten a good fill as it was encroaching over that line there. Maybe it was too fast. The volume certainly spiked up considerably. But eventually this one did go, so this one does fit the bill of a trade around. So just keep that in mind. When you see Holly down in a position, there is no harm in coming up here and setting another alert in the form of a price alert and go, all right, when this thing pops back up here again, I want to know about that second excursion. So we just right click, we set the price alert, and of course if you did that on this guy right here, we did get a little bit of sideways movement from that signal and then a nice pop for the remainder of the day. This must have been news driven. I haven't really went back to check out what it was. All right, so succeeded once again. When just think about less risk. Whereas the one before, TNA was a timed exit. It's a little nervous here, briskly. So, and of course, not the timeliest exit here, you know, exactly corresponding with the wick that we see right here, which shows us, you know, she was up, you know, maybe 20 something cents or so, get a little sideways action. Trade's not really doing what it was supposed to do, going sideways, and she plugs out, hits the panic button, makes 3 cents, right? Of course, we're faced with two options here. Do we use the break even as a stop loss, or do we use the hard stop? Now, as fate would have it, if we were in this candle making that exit and we use that stop loss, it would have got us. But then again, we have to realize the proximity to the stop loss as well, right? Maybe we wait for this candle to play. A lot trickier than the TNA play, but the end result is the same, right? So once again, you just have to kind of figure out when you're taking more risk, do you use the less risky stop loss or the coded hard stop? So that's pretty much my take on, you know, giving you guys a good example of a risk on trade. Also looking at things that could have been traded around. This CTVI doesn't look too bad either for a trade around. As we can see, signal, and then boom, 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 and just barely through that stop loss area. All right. And once again, we can also fold a little daily chart reading in and go, I see Holly's in this trade. She either got stopped out or she just got stopped out. How does it look on the daily? Well, I can see at the bottom of this wick, you know, in the bottom of this candle, you know, this gives me a little bit of a safe, fuzzy feeling, right? Especially after this wick going, well, depending on the daily and the fact that Holly's timing was off just a little bit, I can still get a much better price than Holly. And, you know, as it meanders through this level here, we can get a better price and take a better risk on the stop loss as well. So, risk on, always pay attention. If you like what's going on with the chart, take that risk. If you see Holly about to get stopped out or just after she gets stopped out, take a look at that daily. Do you feel comfortable with the support that's being shown? And maybe you played on the second occurrence, the third occurrence, right? But easy to talk about now that it's already happened. While we're dealing with it in the real time, we still have to give the footprints a little time to develop and make us feel good about, okay, this, you know, no assurances, but I do feel confident that, you know, the bottom jitters have been put to rest. Other than that, looks like the risk management was working on the downside. You know, not just take a look at the winners, but take a look at the losers as well. Biggest one on the risk off was the RGLD. She bailed out for an 11-cent loser, which would eventually turned into a 60-cent loser. Saved a penny here, 38 versus 39, and then a little bit of reverse damage on this one, 32 cents, would have ended up being 16 cents. So everything working as it should with Holly Neo finishing up 5.86 points on 22 trades. So now that we've talked about what Holly did today and how we can interact with Holly to capture alpha that's not necessarily listed anywhere here, you know, in the middle of these spreads here, and talking about trading around and getting better prices and whatnot and lower risk. But now I would like for Michael to come in, because he's the guy that's been creating some of the newer strategies, like the trend play here. So I know everybody always likes to hear a little bit about how the sausage is made without giving away too many in-house secrets. So Michael, if you're ready, I'll pass it over to you, and we'll let you take the helm here.
Sure thing, Jamie. And if I get close to revealing those secrets, just hit the mute button for me.
Oh yeah, we'll hit the auto delete. Yes.
The emergency button.
All right.
All right. So you guys should be able to see my screen now.
Yep.
Couple things I just wanted to add about the things that you were talking about, which I really like, is that so personally, I actually missed the big runner. Believe it was this guy here. Yeah, where I actually we had this CDNA where we had this nice push up initially and when pulled back down through. And then the second push is usually where I like to participate. And I find you get a lot of good trades out of that. You have to be okay with a lot of mistrades. You know, the TNA that you showed just ran and kind of never looked back. But these second moves, as Jamie was talking about, you get to move your stop up. So instead of the stop being right down here, I just put it right under this little wick here, and away you go. So the way I do that, and it might be a little kind of tip, I might be the only one that does it, but I actually sort right here. You can double click on the top of these headers and you can sort, and I sort by risk on profit. And instead of looking at the ones that are doing really well or the ones that are doing really bad, I look at these guys in the middle, the ones that are up, you know, 4 cents or 10 cents or down 4 cents or 10 cents, because I find it gives me a good thing to look at for when things are kind of basing around the entry point. So you get a nice feel of things that haven't moved up yet and they haven't failed yet, or things that are taking that second run that we were talking about there. So so I guess I just hop right into that. I'll actually take a few seconds to introduce myself because I'm not on these a lot. I know there's a couple of you out there who already know me, but I've been using Trade Ideas for about 12 years now. I'm an auto trader, primarily by trade, so I like to use the Brokerage Plus that Jamie was talking about in the beginning of the webinar, where I can build and back test my own strategies within Trade Ideas to come up with whatever I want and make sure they meet the criteria that I personally want to trade. And then I can just plug those into our Brokerage Plus, which right now only syncs with Interactive Brokers, and do that kind of trading. And that's really where I fell in love with the program. I've always had it and I've always used it and I've always liked it. But where it kind of took the place of doing everything for me was when we introduced this feature, which is just fantastic because, you know, if you guys are like me at all, I'm a fairly calm, measured person until things start to go really bad for me. And then I had a bad habit of doing some revenge trading and over trading and those type of things, which we've all been there for. So the ability the ability for when the lights are off at night and, you know, you can build the strategy and then just let them run the next day and just keep an eye on them to make sure nothing crazy is happening to your account. It definitely helped me out a significant margin. So kind of transitioning from that, since I had been building all of these strategies and doing all these things for myself, I started to share them with Trade Ideas, as well as they took note to the YouTube channel and all this other stuff I was doing, and they noticed some of the strategies that I was putting in worked fairly well, and I think that's just the 10,000 hours thing of just doing it over and over again. And for some of you really old school guys that are still here with the original Holly and the original Holly Grail, you might remember Bond Shorty, which is kind of my first foray into this, where I was able to, you know, build a strategy for the first time, and we don't see it that much anymore, but at that time it performed very, very well. So from there, I've been kind of brought on, and I've been doing some stuff, which I'll try not to share too much, with the new Hollies. So as Jamie mentioned, there's not just one, but there's three. So if you go down to your all strategies for AI tab, you can see these segments where we have three different strategies. Now, a lot of people are asking, okay, well, what is Mike actually doing? What are you paying him for? What's the differences here? So without giving away all of the secret sauce, what I'll say is we've opened up the ability to Holly to read more and learn more and understand more. So, whereas before, if you opened up any window and any alert window, you can see just by looking that you can scan by anything here, which is a whole lot of things. It's hundreds and hundreds of different alerts. You can combine these alerts to make pretty much anything you could possibly imagine. But there's another feature within Trade Ideas, which is for the very advanced users, the nerds like me who really kind of want to get in there, where you can build and you can combine and you can run some math on these filters that we have, and that all works in real time as well. So what Holly 2.0 was me with these new abilities that I have for Holly to teach her more things and to learn more, and she's taking that back to all of the Hollies as well. But it was this kind of increase of, okay, now before you could look at 100 things, and we all know that Holly before that was doing fantastically. Well, now look at 1,000 things and see what you can learn from that. And then I think the next step is going to be, okay, well, now look at 10,000 things and see what you can learn from that. So this ability to kind of create my own systems even deeper allows Holly to read that even deeper. So that's kind of the difference between the Grail, which is the old faithful, we know it works, everything's great, to, okay, let Mike play a little bit with Holly 2.0. And then Holly Neo, I don't even understand a lot of the stuff going on, but that's even more cutting edge. That's the front of the line thing. So basically any new crazy idea we're going to come up, we're going to throw it in Neo, and we're going to see how it works. And as we saw today, Holly Neo is performing fantastically. So where you sit, which is we're getting a lot of questions on, is kind of where maybe risk tolerance, I guess, for you would lie. So for me, I love Neo. I love Holly Neo. I'm the same guy. I'm also the guy who will go and buy a new iPhone right when they come out, because I like the new tech. I want to see the new things and how things are evolving and changing. And with Neo, there's, she's learning from all of these different new strategies and new filters and new alerts that I can build for it, that it's the performance has just been phenomenal. If you look at the back tests of some of these strategies, you're talking a 70% win rate and a 67% win rate and a 69%. So a lot of really cool and interesting things going. So one thing I wanted to show you guys is kind of the difference between an old strategy and a new strategy. So a lot of the old strategies, we could only reference things that were happening intraday and then some things on the longer term charts. But with the newer strategies, I was actually able to build different daily candlesticks. So I've been using candlesticks. I've been trading for 12 years. I've been using them the whole time. We know that pretty much every trader out there uses candlesticks, and there's certain patterns that people like to watch quite a bit. So there's in Holly, there's now a hammer candle strategy where it's looking for hammer candles on the daily, and it's looking for strength after those hammer candles. This is one that I'm kind of showing you a sneak peek of. It's not in there yet, and it can't be shared, unfortunately, because it has all these custom things to it. But this is an engulfing candle strategy. So for you technicians out there, we know that an engulfing candle can quite often cause a rather large move in one direction or another, because you're getting all of the people who are looking to sell but under yesterday's low, and they're failing. And they're not only failing, now it's breaking yesterday's high as well. So the momentum and the continuation that we can see here is something that we couldn't detect as well before. So I'm just pulling up some examples from this, but this IJR and WH were perfect little examples of, you know, we break below the low very early in the morning, and then we're kind of breaking above the high after that, and away we go. So it's, for lack of a better term, it's just being able to say she's gone to college, right? So Holly before was in high school and she was learning very well, and she was getting to a point where she had learned everything that everybody could teach her with the current model we had. So then we punched it up a notch and we said, okay, well, now you're going to go to university and you're going to get so much more information. And what can you do with that more information? And then from there, it's just going to be, you know, how far can we push her? What information can we kind of throw into her with these new strategies and different trading styles, and researching what everyone else is doing in the world and taking that and putting it into this AI so that it's even better when you guys see it. And the strategies that we're producing is phenomenal. So again, this is a bit of a sneak peek. I hope I'm not going too far into the sausage for you guys, but
you're all good. You're all good.
All right, so this is a back test of this window that I brought as well. So again, this is a strategy that wasn't possible for Holly a couple months ago, but now it is. And you can see, even in its base form, this is its unrefined form, it's a fairly good strategy. So whereas before, if you go into our optimization tab, you can actually see how all of our data affects that trade. So if you want to see how an RSI affects this particular trade, you can do that. If you want to see how the 200-day moving average affects a trade, you can do that. And again, that's for all of these filters, which is no slouch, and that's why Holly was able to do as well as she did in the past. But now that we can add this new feature to it, we can multiply and we can double and triple and quadruple 10 times, 100 times what we are looking at to refine this down. So instead of just her saying, okay, well, where does the 200-day moving average affect it? I can say, okay, well, where's the 200 moving average, you know, and how far away is it, and the slope of it, and all of these different things to say, okay, don't just look at that surface level, you look well behind it. And that's, you know, it's super exciting. And with the stuff that I've heard of that's coming around the corner, I think we're just going to get kind of more and more of this as it goes through. So it's very exciting. If you liked her before, you're going to love her soon. And when the next kind of push happens and the next learning happens, I don't even think I'll understand what's going on anymore. I think it will be well beyond me. We'll have to get some MIT grads or something in to explain to me what's going on. So hopefully I can help explain it to you guys.
Yeah, we'll have to bring in some neural network experts. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Just to parse the data.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what goes kind of under the radar a lot with these, Michael, is, you know, for example, in the 401 advanced class today, we always start off with back testing, right? And those classes go an hour and a half, and man, it takes, you know, 30 minutes just to get some basic facts about back testing down. And that's just with barely scratching the surface with optimization. You know, we always kind of joke about it. I'm like, look how time consuming it is. We've already wasted 45 minutes of an hour and a half class just on one topic. And boy, you think that is, you know, obscene. Once you get in there and start using the odds maker, you'll notice that the time you go into a time warp, right? Before you know it, 2, 3, 4 hours have passed. And there's no guarantee that you're going to find anything that is useful, right? And so, you know, I love seeing the evolution of this product, right? We first invented the back tester. Of course, that was in 2006, the very end of 2006.
Yeah, so, I remember that one. Yeah.
And very exciting at the time. Just as we constantly update the software, it's always exciting, but that was kind of a groundbreaking thing at the time because nobody else had anything like it. But of course, we all ran into, man, this is a lot of work. And what I had that was working stopped working, so now I have to go back to the drawing board. And just because you want to find something does not ensure that you're going to find it, right? And that is what led to the development of the AI. Well, we made this first really cool piece of technology which allows us humans to uncover data sets, or what we could call learn at a rate which is exponential compared to not having this tool, but that's not enough. Now we had to write the software to actually use the tool for us. And by the way, teach it how to optimize as well. And so that was what led to the birth of Holly. And now, what are we doing? We're not resting on our laurels. We're taking it one step further, bringing in people like Mr. Noss here that are going even deeper in helping us improve this technology even more. And guess what? It's not going to stop there. It's going to continually improve. You know, we probably pump out new versions of the software faster than any software company ever, especially in our space, and we're going to continue to do that. So just thought everybody might appreciate getting a peek into, you know, the inner workings of what we're doing here with Holly. And thank you very much, Michael, for you know, sharing your insight there and giving us a little peek into the manufacturing process, I guess, for lack of a better term.
No problem at all.
And then, of course, you know, going back to the Brokerage Plus, you know, one of the questions that we get all the time as well is, well, when can I automate Holly strategies? You know, because I understand I can do my own strategies, but hey, I'd like to try some of these Holly strategies out in the automated form, and that is coming. You know, there are just a lot of I's to dot, a lot of T's to cross before we roll something of that magnitude out. Of course, Brokerage Plus also needs to be out of beta. So, you know, hopefully if we keep all of our fingers and toes crossed, maybe we'll see something before the fall kicks in. That's what we're all hoping for, but there's no guarantees yet, but it is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So really exciting stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but a lot of people do ask about automated Holly and all of this, and even though it can't be auto-traded, I think it's important to remind people every now and then that even with Brokerage Plus, so I have Brokerage Plus open down here, you can't automate the trade, so it will enter and exit for you, but you can actually set up trade scripts where, you know, for example, this trend play pops up and you want to get into it, you can right click on the symbol or on the chart anywhere and actually just trade it with one click. So for me personally, I haven't opened up my broker platform to trade. You know, I open up, I connect it, and I close it and leave it in the background, and I trade everything right through the software now. So if you're looking to automate Holly just to increase speed, well, there's already a little advantage you can get just by doing that. You can have it put out the profit target, the time stop, and the stop loss order, whatever it is that meets your tolerance and that you like, and enter with those just 2 clicks, right? You just click, and there you go. You've just bought $5,000 worth at the market, and it can put it at the stop wherever you'd like. So, you know, while we're working on full automation, it might not be, if you're interested in that, it might not be a bad idea just to pick it up and start playing with this partial automation and get yourself kind of comfortable before we kind of go full bore with it.
Yep, always a good idea. Always a good idea. Yeah, and so, you know, what Michael, I didn't see it come up on your screen, but yeah, in addition to the automation functionality, you tell me, Michael, is it easier for you to execute with our panel as opposed to going through your IB workstation? I mean,
oh yeah, I just brought up a window here, and it's just showing all of the customization you can do. So for example, this is going to buy $5,000. You can change that wherever you want, but you can have it use, if you like our smart stop, it will automatically set out that stop for you. So if you're one of those that doesn't honor their stop all the time, and maybe you should do a little better job at that, you can have it put out the stop the second you enter the trade. You can have it put out the target the second you enter the trade. You can actually have it do the math. So say I only wanted to risk per trade, say $250. I can go in, I can actually say, okay, well, I want to type in $250 here. It's going to know roughly where my entry is, and it's going to know roughly where my stop loss is, and it's going to automatically do the math and say, okay, well, I'm going to buy you just enough shares that if your stop gets hit, you'll risk about $250, you know, plus or minus normal slippage that you get in the market. So again, for me, with some of the over-aggression problems I had with trading, this was great because even when I take a trade, I know The system will handle the stop. If I have to get up and do something else, or you know, just don't want to be at the computer, I know that my stop loss is there and it's protecting me, and my time stop's kind of taking care of me as well. So yeah, with one click, when I see the trades that I like, I'm able to get in and take care of all of that without really having to go and type in the price I want and type in the shares I want and do all this. And by the time, for me, who's not, you know, probably the fastest with that stuff and not really using hotkeys as much as I used to, it shortens that leg between when I decide to do something and when I have the shares in my account, which is, you know, in markets as computerized as this, it's always a good idea.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, the Brokerage Plus is already a very advanced add-on, right? It's been in development for quite a while. Just making sure, you know, it's nice and stable before we actually put the official release on it. But one would think it has to be coming up pretty soon. But we will see. All right. Now, there was a question that came through about you using, let's see, Amazon Cloud, Michael. There was a user saying, hey, doesn't Michael use Amazon Cloud a lot? And is it, you know, is it good? Is it relevant for what I'm doing? And I guess, yeah, if you're traveling, right, and you want to access your trading terminal and or your Brokerage Plus, that might be a viable alternative. I mean, that's what a lot of people do these days.
It's something I use and I do enjoy. For me, I'm from northeastern Canada, so we have a lot of times where the snow gets a little bit too much and the power goes out and the internet goes out frequently. I think the main benefit of it is that when you're in the cloud, you can connect to that. The other reason I've seen people use it is you can usually access them from any device. So you can access it from your phone or something like that. It doesn't add any functionality to Trade Ideas. It just makes it so that you can access it kind of from anywhere in the world. The other benefit that I've seen people use it for is if you're a Mac guy, which I am myself, I'm a nerd with that kind of stuff, you can install this and you basically get a Windows 10 version in the cloud. So it helps, right? It doesn't add any functionality. It's not going to make Holly better or faster, or Trade Ideas better or faster, but it's kind of just a way to secure yourself from that type of stuff.
Right. And I was just kind of scanning the questions panel here, making sure we didn't leave anybody hanging here.
One thing I'll address is because there's probably going to be more of these questions. Unfortunately, I cannot share these alerts because they're using this custom feature that I talked about. So if I gave it to you, it would just be wrong because it wouldn't have that kind of back end of things. So I would like to, and I will be sharing it soon, but it will be coming in form of you'll see it in Holly. So we'll make sure we name it something with engulfing in it so you'll be able to see it right away and trade it if that's something that you like.
And we did have a user asking how to set entry and exit signals. I would assume that he was referencing the Brokerage Plus module there, but in essence, that is the strategy that you would load up in there. And basically, as Michael is pointing out right here, assuming you do that and get everything set up properly, whenever a signal fires from that respective strategy, if you're using automation, boom, it's just going to place that order for you. And more than likely, you're just going to see the position pop up on your blotter. And if you set it to use a stop loss, it automatically inserts that stop loss as well, Ravi, if that's what if that was where the question was directed.
Yeah, that's right. If you're fully automated, then you pick the entries and exits based off the strategy you build. So that back tester I showed earlier, that's basically showing, okay, what's going to happen if I trade the first instance of this alert? You know, put out a stop loss, put out a price target, and hold it for X amount of time. And then you don't really have to do anything after that. Once you have it set up in your Brokerage Plus, it trades for you, and you kind of sit back and just kind of monitor from there.
All right, so that is a peek into the development process, and you know, a nice little, you know, evolution from Holly 1 to Holly 2 and now to Holly Neo, and the evolution will continue, ladies and gentlemen. That is for certain. So we're just about at the end of the allocated time today, and of course it is a holiday, and I see some people heading for the doors. So if you're ready, Scott, we've got some discount codes, and I think still time to catch the July 4th sale. If you've been on the fence or you're thinking about upgrading, Scott can show you some discount codes on how to save some cash here. So Scott, you ready?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a couple things on the way out. Let's make sure everyone's got our new ebook that Jamie participated in writing. It's you can get that at trade. You lost your screen there, Jamie. It's at trade-ideas.com/ebook. We've also got a podcast, so you're going to need to search for Trade Ideas Podcast in whatever you use to listen to your favorite podcasts in, and download that. Subscribe to the Trade Ideas Podcast, and you get the new one as soon as it comes out. We've got a lot of great back issues too. There's a code that's good this month, Save in July, all caps. That's going to save you 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas. You can also use that to upgrade. Any questions, email us, info@trade-ideas.com. Make sure you send all the questions you have there. You can follow Jamie at QuantBot on Twitter, Steve Gomez at Today Trader. We also have at Trade Ideas. Facebook.com/Trade Ideas Pro is the page to like on Facebook, so you can share everything with your friends. We'll have the recording of this up later on tonight or tomorrow. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thanks everybody for popping in. Michael, thank you for popping in and sharing your insights with us. Always a pleasure. And if you'd like to follow Michael on Twitter, he is at Bonpara, Bonpara. Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Come see us tomorrow in the support session at 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
All right, later, everyone.
Thanks, guys. See you.